Namaskar, welcome back to Media Scan, your weekend dose of headlines, controversies and perspectives. A couple of distressing news breaks have reignited the debate about the manner in which the media portrays tragedies, accidents and sorrow. It also raises concern about whether the media likes to feast on tragedies just for the sake of TRPs. We have a special panel of very experienced people who will help us understand this complex issue better. But first, a look at the other top headlines of the week. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has emphasized on the need for public participation in water conservation. In a unique conference titled Water Vision 2047, Prime Minister Modi said this would be a great contribution towards Amrit Kal. PM Modi also gave several mantras for conservation of water. He pointed at the significance of the project to develop 75 Amrit Sarovars in each district of India. In fact, 25,000 such Amrit Sarovars have already been constructed. The Apex Court has given its stamp of approval on the central government's path-breaking decision to demonetize high-value currency in 2016. The court gave its order on a clutch of petitions questioning the process of the announcement. In a 4:1 majority decision, the Supreme Court bench said there had been no violation of procedure or bypassing of the RBI as claimed by the petitioners. The BJP said this decision should end all political debate on the issue, while the Congress remarked that the decision was only about the process and not on the merits of the demonetization. Home Minister Amit Shah has declared on Thursday that the newly constructed Ram Mandir being built at Ayodhya would be open for devotees on January 1st, 2024. Shah was addressing the launch of a yatra in Tripura, where he referred to comments made by Congress MP Rahul Gandhi during the election campaign of 2019. Construction of the Grand Temple dedicated to Ramlala started in 2020 with Bhumi Pujan at the site performed by Prime Minister Modi. Centre has directed the Jharkhand government to ensure that the sanctity of the Samet Shikharji Parvat Kshetra, popularly called the Parasnath Hills, must be maintained at all costs. The direction came after representatives of the Jain community met Union Environment Minister Bhupendra Yadav. Centre has declared that no eco-tourism would be allowed at the Samet Shikharji area, as the government is committed to uphold the sanctity of the holy site, not just for Jains but all Indians. The Supreme Court has stayed for a month the process of demolition of illegal structures on railway land in Haldwani, Uttarakhand. The Apex Court said it was staying the action on humanitarian grounds because 50,000 people cannot be uprooted over a week. The court has stressed on a rehabilitation plan for the displaced in the matter. Residents of the area had been agitating for last several days against the said demolition. Two distressing incidents, which were the headline throughout the week, have brought back focus on the question whether the media at times forgets its responsibility in the mad rush for TRPs, particularly when it comes to featuring human tragedy and suffering. To understand this very relevant but complex question, I have two very seasoned journalists with me, people who have been news reporters themselves and are now helping the younger generation of the media to learn the tricks of the profession, the ethics of the media. I have here with me the Vice Chancellor of the Makhanlal Chaturvedi University, well-known journalist, media educator, Professor K.G. Suresh. Welcome to Media Scan, Professor Suresh. So wonderful to have you on the show.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you.
Also with me, another senior journalist. You have been hearing him on the media on several occasions, particularly on Doordarshan. Sanjay Singh, welcome back to Media Scan, sir. And my first question also comes to you, Sanjay Singh. these two incidents that we were watching through the week, and I'm sure you too have done that, the distressing incident, the unfortunate accident of a young lady in the national capital who met with a very painful end on the night of the New Year's Eve, which has been flashed across media channels in a carpet coverage through the week. But also at the same time, the unfortunate news of the very popular cricketer Rishabh Pant meeting with an accident near Roorkee, where he had a miraculous escape and he is now recuperating from the injuries. Are you satisfied, sir, as a senior journalist but also as a news consumer with the coverage of these incidents? What kind of a taste it left in your mouth? Sanjay Singh.
Smita, the two incidents that you are referring are the most painful incidents. The one which has numbed the senses of the nation, in which a most horrific and tragic death of a young girl, the single breadwinner of a family, dragged to about 12 kilometers by a car. No need to go further on that. That has truly been very horrific, and to everybody whosoever has watched this. The second incident that you referred about Rishabh Pant, again very saddening, an incident which Rishabh Pant, of course, is a youth icon, a very good cricketer, and somebody whose life and career, his struggle and the way he has achieved whatever for himself and for the nation inspires a whole lot of youth, of admirers of Rishabh Pant. The question that you are asking about the coverage, coverage per se, there could be a subjective opinion about the coverage. The carpet coverage by some channels, particularly about the incident in which this tragic of a young girl took place. But there's some where I think we need to review, the media as a whole, need to review as to how long, in the sense to what should we actually broadcast. Once you saw there is a CCTV footage where you can see inside beneath the car a girl is being dragged.
Yes.
Several others has some other such shots. And when those incidents, the pictures keep coming on, the first time maybe you see out of curiosity, but when they keep coming on, they kind of disturb your, I would say, the psyche at times. And they're so painful that I, for myself, was switched to a different channel. But I think there was a consensus, broad consensus, and there is still a broad consensus that gory picture should not be used. I don't know when this consensus was broken and who breaks it, because ultimately it's individual discretion of the publication, the TV channel or the publication or the digital outlet concerned. But yes, this is a matter of concern. In Rishabh Pant's case, we saw his back twist, and those pictures stayed for some time, and those pictures were repeated for some time. Thankfully, later on, prudence, some good sense prevailed, and those pictures were taken out. I think we need to have some kind of consensus. If we contrast this thing with Western media model, whereby if you saw even in 2611, they did not show those gory pictures and in so many other incidents. Whereas there is a tendency that there is a viewership for that. I can imagine when you say that people want to see it, but should, as responsible citizen or as responsible person in media of nation, should we not have a considered opinion on the subject? Should we show it or not show it? Should we take?
So I think, Sanjay Singh, you have raised, in your comments, you have raised 2-3 very pertinent questions. I want to come to Professor K.G. Suresh on this. Professor K.G. Suresh, if you remember, sir, Sanjay Singh has tried to remind us that there used to be a part of media ethics to avoid distressing and gory pictures, shocking pictures. It was considered, an unwritten rule to avoid such visuals. Somewhere down the line, this ethics seems to have gone awry and nobody cares about it anymore. Perhaps people believe that it will bring them greater viewership. The very shock value of an upsetting picture or episode. But there is a larger question involved here, sir, and I want you to throw light on this for the benefit of our viewers. On the one hand, the media's argument is that it is their responsibility to show news as it is, no matter how distressing, because that is the primary job of the media. But at the same time, isn't there a sensitivity involved, sir? Is it always about shock value? Doesn't the victim of a tragedy or their family have a claim to some privacy in their moments of sorrow? I mean, it is complex, but what is your take on the question?
Smita, first of all, thank you for raising this very important issue.
Thank you, sir.
I wish to say that this is not just about the pictures, it's about the content, the story itself. You know, as Sanjay ji rightly put it, this issue has been very extensively debated in this country. The earlier bomb blasts we used to have, and we used to show a lot of blood, lot of, things in detail about victims of terrorism that you and I have seen over the years. And there have been comparisons with how the West has, covered 9/11, where not even a single dead body was shown.
Yes.
All these debates were, of course, have always been there. But for me, there are also larger issues involved, It's about the sensationalism which media has been indulging in for a long time. And you call it TRP raise or whatever. I'm not in any way, undermining the importance of this incident. But I heard some very so-called responsible channels comparing this incident with, the very, very, a horrific incident of Nirbhaya. Now, the comparisons, this was a crime with of a different kind altogether. This was a road accident, and after which you have had people trying to destroy the evidence. They were all drunk. Whereas the other case was a deliberate case of a woman being targeted and victimized. So I believe that, this comparison created a lot of sensation in the society.
So what do you think?
Among the first responses I heard was that, oh, not again, not another Nirbhaya again. Whereas this was a different case altogether. Similarly,
so, Professor K.G. Suresh, allow me, sir. I have a very quick query here. Since you said that there were efforts by channels to bring parallels, between the earlier Nirbhaya incident, do you think there could be a purpose of trying to build up an outrage by, creating an analogy, even if they are not similar?
Absolutely. The whole idea is that to create they say that, you create ghosts where they don't exist.
Yes.
So I know that I still say that women are a lot insecure in major cities of the country. Women continues to be a vulnerable section of the society. But when you highlight such incidents in a particular way, it creates a kind of fear psychosis in the society, which is certainly, one has to be very responsible. And then let us come to the next part. And the next part is when, you have friends of the victim who were talking very openly, very loosely about, she was being drunk and all that. Now, these are things which should come before a court of law rather than her parents defending. So virtually a media trial that we used to speak about, that is happening in this case also. You have a friend who is saying that she was so drunk, I told her not to. So you are, the victim has suddenly become, then suddenly I have heard people saying, no, such girls, they deserve this kind of a thing. The entire, narrative changes. Now the whole idea is that why are you playing with these? Yes.
painting the victim in a certain manner so that the direction of the debate
Yeah, I
gets
still
disturbed.
remember, if you remember, Smita, long time earlier, when you used to have these custodial rapes and all that.
Yes, yes.
One narrative used to be that, oh, that woman is not of good character. Now, does it justify rape?
Correct.
That was the question which was widely
Right.
asked. Now,
So I
this is the
think,
same thing,
yes.
here also, the kind of things which should come in due process in a court of law. We are indulging in that, who is the victim, then taking a response from the victim's family, then they say, no, she was not drunk at all, there was nothing, then they talk about the 2-finger test. I mean, what all, where things don't exist, we are trying to
So
create.
even before it
sensation.
comes into the court of law, there is
Yeah.
this whole process of media trial.
The trial
going on.
by media which is
Yes.
happening.
Allow me, Professor KG Suresh, to bring back Sanjay Singh into the debate here, because you have raised 2 or 3 very interesting questions in your remarks. Sanjay Singh, number one, the question of the media becoming a platform of a media trial and allowing all sorts of comments back and forth about a victim who is no more, even before the matter comes into the court of law, even before investigation is complete, is one question I would like your take on, sir. And secondly, there is also this issue of the, the duration of the coverage. Even people, our policy makers, people in the government are also told to be concerned about it. Okay, it is a very serious incident and it needs to be brought into the headlines. But should it be covered in a manner that everything else gets overshadowed? This kind of 24/7 carpet coverage, does it help the cause of the victim or the justice at all?
Smita, there are two sides of this question. A story of these kind of stories needs to be told to the people at large for 2 reasons. A, the kind of incidents that has taken place, an innocent life lost, and 2, to tell people about responsible citizens, that what kind of citizens we have, even if the crime was not committed with a criminal intent, but the fact that this is a horrific crime that has been committed in the national capital. Secondly, this going and the similar such incidents where a young girl, aspiring young girl, trying to make herself into kind of a different world altogether, break free from the shackles that she was previously in, he or she was previously in, into a different world altogether, a world where she can support her family and for herself and move on. That story needs to be told to people. And also, by telling these stories, you also try and bring culprit to the book. The other side of story, the question that you are asking, how long? After all, how
Yes.
long? See, there are two kind of situation here. If you do one story and it goes, there is an opinion that if you do one story and story goes, the people concerned in authority, they do not take kind of cognizance that they ought to be taking. Sometimes a cognizance is already taken, but even then there is a sense of outrage among people, and therefore the channels, whatever publications try to be part of that sentiment, and therefore they broaden their coverage on that subject. The third aspect on which I think you are trying to elicit an opinion is when you realize that this subject has kind of hit some kind of on a psyche of people and is connecting with people, you broaden that coverage to an extent whereby there are issues, whereby the kind of talks about in name of investigative journalism or otherwise comes when you don't give dignity to the dead. Dignity to
Exactly.
the dead is questioned, and then also come a whole lot of people. Sometimes it becomes for an ordinary citizens, it becomes very difficult to distinguish. But those who watch television with some rational intent of mind, for them that is disturbing, because then you get into the areas where one ought not get into those areas. There are few areas where the dignity of the victim is very, very important.
So one is, yes, please carry on.
Sensibility of the viewers is also important. And thereafter, I can imagine, I can understand human interest stories which touches your heart, your mind, and creates a sense of outrage whereby the guilty or culprit is brought to the book to the best it's possible. The justice is delivered. That part is fine, but there are some aspects, a few things which are going on. I don't want to actually point out the headlines and the kind of stories that I've seen. Those I think are slightly reaching it too far for perhaps for the TRP.
So just one quick query, Sanjay Singh, before I move to Professor KG Suresh once again. You have raised the question of, giving dignity to the dead even in the course of investigative journalism or whatever it is labeled to be. But, media channels have an argument all the time, and this did come into the fore in the case of Nirbhaya and subsequently a few other cases as well. And their argument is that when they give repeated coverage, when they build up on it, it somehow acts as a catalyst to give justice to the victim. Otherwise, there is an attempt in the system to bury these things, and so therefore they think that their kind of coverage is going to somehow help the cause of justice. Is that convincing?
See, I said there is an argument, and perhaps to that extent rightly so. If you do one story and it goes, if you pick up it like a campaign, story sustains and rings bell in quarters concerned, well, alarm bell should actually ring. That part is fine. I can understand that part. But getting into few things whereby you compete with certain other media outlets, X is showing this, and therefore Y should show these things. This has happened not just in current case, but this has also happened in past. Yes. Whereby you actually go on flaunting as to reporters are there, but that so many reporters are there on the ground to bring justice or to make people aware of the kind of incidents and the kind of the way our society is moving, and therefore corrective actions should be taken by the society at large and people concerned in that particular area. But when it enters into areas where you talk about whole lot of things, which I ought not, we should not be talking about those things, and we should
become
not be
the talk of the media.
Yeah, precisely. But that is done because of a certain competition among the media outlets, and also because the TRP, as the kind of TRP it generates.
Okay. Let me get a take from KG Suresh, because there's a very interesting question you have raised. Professor KG Suresh, a quick take on this, sir, before I move on to another deeper question. Sanjay Singh is saying, this question about the media helping the cause of justice versus getting into areas or issues related to the victim or the other concerned persons where the media is not exactly supposed to go. I mean, is there a thin line where investigative journalism ends and media becomes a platform for gossip?
Absolutely. Smita, media activism often leads to judicial activism also. There have been many instances where judiciary has literally, virtually played to the galleries, and they have made decisions based on what is called public outrage, which is reflected in the media coverage.
No. So is that a good thing or is it not a good thing?
No, absolutely. There has to be a proportion. You cannot create something which is artificial. You saw what happened in the Hyderabad, fake encounter. I mean, that following the rape incident, you had what it led to. It was, kind of, some people were shot dead within 24 hours by the police, and that was, celebrated across the country. Now, a country which believes in constitutional law, a country which believes in when even the accused or rather the guilty of the 2611 was given a fair trial in this country. How can you have a police encounter to decide, whether the rape, are you sure that they were the same people who actually were involved in that incident? But because so much of pressure has been built, so much has been situation has been created that, there was a mob celebration across the country. Now that cannot be justified in a country which believes in the constitutional law, so I think that, we need to keep that in mind, that we don't create, such a scenario where the judiciary is influenced to take, I mean, you have seen the Arushi case also. What
Yes,
happened, and finally where did it lead to? So
So,
we have, I
Professor
think,
KG
told you
Suresh,
several
very
instances where media has negatively
Yes.
influenced even judicial verdicts.
So you are saying that yes, the media, carpet coverage of the media does influence the judiciary, but
Yes.
it may not perhaps be in the way it is desired to be. Very quickly, sir, because I have just a few seconds left on the show, but we here on Media Scan are always careful that we do not leave a discussion before we move to a solution-oriented position. Very quickly, sir, there is a lot of balancing, certainly. There is the cause of justice, the cause of investigative journalism. There is also respect towards the victim, dead or alive. There is also the question of the family not building up an outrage where there is no need for one. How would you suggest the media fulfills its responsibility but does not go overboard?
Absolutely, that balance, the Madhyama Marga, as
Yes.
Gautam Buddha has said, the golden mean has to be followed. You need follow-up stories, you need to report a lot of things, but in the process, you don't encroach into the privacy of individuals, their
Right.
reputations. You don't create sensation in the society. You see, at the end of the day, Smita, when a terrorist explodes a bomb, his objective is to terrify the people, and if the media is going to do that job for him, then by creating a scare in the society, then whom are we helping?
Right.
We are helping the cause of the terrorist.
Correct.
So we need to forewarn the society. We need
So
to caution the society.
media needs
But
to be cautious also, that we do not
Yes,
allow
absolutely.
a platform to the people who are
Absolutely.
enemies of the nation, of the society.
Yes,
Thank you for
absolutely.
putting it so well, Professor KG Suresh. Very quickly, in one line, Sanjay Singh, what would you say is the best way forward? KG Suresh has suggested the Madhyam Marga as propounded by Lord Buddha. What in your view is the true maxim in such sensitive situations for a media house, for a media professional?
In some cases, media trial and media campaigns have delivered goods, like in 2G, coal scam, CWG,
Yes.
they have delivered good for the country. In some, like chasing Nirav Modi down to Britain. But fact remains that even in some crime cases, media of course has reported and given certain things which outrage society and people concerned took action. This is, I think, the review should leave that particular decision and review with enlightened leadership of the production companies concerned, the channels concerned, and publications concerned. They should actually think about it. Does this actually serve purpose of their channel and society at large also?
Shouldn't leaders of the media industry come together, put their heads together to find an agreed line on this? Is that even workable?
No, even individuals, particular channel can take an initiative and talk about it. If some channels which perhaps are going overboard, not all channels are going overboard on this particular issue, but some channels which tend to go overboard on issues like these, I think if they start thinking, and this is an internal churning process starts within the edit room of that publication concerned, production house or media house concerned, I think then only we can reach towards certain solution, because no matter how much people from outside talk about it, somebody is sitting out there कि जो दिखता है यही दिखता है तो यही बिकता है यही
Yes,
दिखता
I
है
think
तो यही
that
बिकता है.
that one
That
line
dictum
has been done to death already, and one needs to reflect about this line. जो दिखता है वही बिकता है, how true and how really desirable it is. But point taken, Sanjay Singh. Thank you, both of you gentlemen, for giving us your time and explaining this complex but very, very important issue to us so well. Thanks a lot to Professor KG Suresh, who joined Media Scan for the first time. We shall get back to you in another episode, sir. Thanks again. And Sanjay Singh, thank you once again for coming back on the show and sharing your experiences, your perspective on this sensitive issue with us. We will connect you once again. Namaskar.
It was a pleasure. Thanks.
This is not the first time that the question of media ethics, particularly in the coverage of tragedies and human suffering, has come to the fore. But it is never enough if an issue continues to persist and cause concern in the society. If need comes, we shall discuss it and bring it back on Media Scan once again. Till then, viewers, please wait for our next episode next weekend. Namaskar.